was at the gym, someone asked me, "Where do you get your motivation from?" And I jokingly said, "Emotional trauma," and we both laughed. I thought about the question a bit deeper, and I realised that I am the grandson of those that came before me. So I looked into those that came before me, and on my father's side, my great-grandfather, he joined the RAF in 1940 at 20 years old as a navigator and bomb aimer on a Wellington bomber. By 1941, at 21 years old, he had been on 28 different operations to various countries such as France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Germany. On his 28th operation on the 6th of August 1941, they went to bomb a city in Germany called Mannheim. And after the bombing, on their return to England, they were shot at by a German Messerschmitt 110, which managed to destroy one of the engines as well as the instrument panel. This heavily damaged their plane. However, the front gunner managed to shoot back and the Messerschmitt 110 disappeared into the distance in a cloud of smoke. In an attempt to avoid further anti-aircraft attacks, the pilot dropped altitude right down below, and my great-grandfather threw out any unnecessary equipment to lighten the plane. Visibility was really poor, which meant with the damaged plane, they eventually crashed into the sea. Both the front and the rear gunners died, whereas the rest of the crew managed to climb on top of the emergency rubber dinghy as they turned back and watched their plane and their two crewmates sink to the bottom of the sea. My great-grandfather and 3 other crew members spent 6 days at sea on a rubber dinghy. All they had to sustain themselves were some hardtack biscuits, some Horlicks, and some stale water, which they agreed to only have a spoonful of water each per day. After 6 days at sea, they were captured by a German U-boat and sent to a Nazi prisoner of war camp. My great-grandfather, by the way, was 21 years old and the eldest of the crew. They were sent to Stalag Luft 3, which is a Nazi prisoner of war camp that the movie The Great Escape was based on, starring Steve McQueen. My great-grandfather was actually interviewed by the producers of the film as he managed to escape for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks on the run, he was recaptured by the Nazis and sent back to a prisoner of war camp. He moved between 5 different prisoner of war camps in various countries such as Poland and Lithuania. He spent 4 years in different Nazi prisoner of war camps. His 22nd, 23rd, 24th and 25th birthdays were all spent in Nazi prisoner of war camps. Now that's just on my father's side. On my mother's side, my mother's from the Philippines, and my mother's parents unfortunately died when she was very young, so I never got to meet them. However, they were born in the 1930s, which means they were children during the Japanese occupation during World War II. And if you know anything about World War II and the Japanese Imperial Empire, then you know. Imagine how frightening it would be as a child to watch invading soldiers marching through your town. And if you know anything about the Philippines, then you'd know that it's the most Catholic country in Asia. This means that they eat, sleep, repeat the Bible. Love thy neighbour, do unto others as you wish others do unto you. Be fruitful and multiply. My mother is one of 12 children. Okay, she's child number 8. So if my grandparents only chose to have 1 child, or 2 children, or 3 children, or 4 children, or 5, or 6, or 7, then my mother wouldn't have been born. And if my mother wasn't born, she wouldn't have met my father. If my parents hadn't met, I wouldn't have been born, and I wouldn't be here making this video, and you wouldn't be here watching it. Now, I say all this to say that whether directly or indirectly, we all have an impact on the world and we can all positively influence the world. I think back to those before me and realise and remember how hard and difficult their lives were simply just to survive. Can you imagine spending your early 20s, half of your 20s in a Nazi prisoner of war camp? So my problems are not even a grain of sand in comparison to the ocean of difficulties and hardships those before me had to go through for me to be here today. So I can't let myself sit and complain and be miserable when I think about the hardships those before me have gone through simply for me to be alive today. Every single workout that I do benefits me and only me. So it doesn't make sense to half-ass my workouts, to complain that I feel tired. Boo-hoo, it's nothing in comparison to what those before me have sacrificed and gone through. So of course I have motivation. I want to be the best version of myself, and even then, how can I match that aura of spending 4 years in a Nazi prisoner of war camp to then escape for 2 weeks and then get captured again? My struggles do not compare in the slightest to anything they've gone through.